Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime Project video. Now, before I get into the event, I do have to correct something that I've been saying before. I was looking at the event list a little bit wrong for a while, and I was looking at it the wrong way. And the thing with that is that this isn't the event that will give us heroic difficulty, but it does indeed give us something new. Heroic difficulty is not going to happen until later, so you still have a little bit of time to prepare. But if I remember correctly, the first event to have heroic is a fire event, so that's going to be water team going to be the optimal one to use. So anybody that's looking for a huge challenge is going to need to beef up their water teams. Now, this event itself, like the previous raid event, it's going to have a lot of different changes and it's going to be grindier. So keep this one thing in mind, that it is going to be quite a tedious grind unless you are capable of clearing Ragnarok Plus, which will greatly help for the grind. But it's not a perfect method because you can only do Ragnarok Plus a few times a day. If anybody was doing beginner, it's gone now. I also have to point that out as well. So that's something to know. But anyways, let's get into this event. So this is going to be a Nue event, and it's going to have thunder enemies. So wind is going to have the advantage, water is going to be at a disadvantage. You may or may not want to use water depending on how strong you are, because Ragnarok Plus has actually got some reasonably difficult enemies, but it depends on how strong you are. Now, big things to note. Like the previous event, SSR, I call these ticket fragments because they're really like a piece of a ticket, if you want to be honest, but ticket fragments have been added. We can now have a grindable method for those little green orbs, so that's something to know. And then some drop rates have been altered. That's stuff I had to point out the gate. On top of that, like I said, beginner is gone, so no beginner. That's just gone. A good way to try and gauge how strong you want to be for grinding stuff, Ragnarok is the one you want to grind now, if not Ragnarok Plus. So use weekly Advent for a good measurement of how strong you are for these events, because it is more or less the same setup. Only thing is, Ragnarok in weekly Advent, I know only has a boss, but there should be enemies with the boss in this case. So that's something to know. Now, given the list has changed, there's different priorities and whatnot. I'm going to say this right out the gate. Grind out your weapon and your add-on. If you want both weapons, go for that too. After that, immediately make a beeline for the SSR fragments, because you want those. Period. After that, they suggest going after the cores, so like green orbs. However, I wouldn't make that a top priority. I would make it a high priority, but not a top priority. Because top priority is definitely getting the gacha tickets, especially the SSR fragment ones, the add-ons, the weapons. Then after that, I would say the magic jewels is a higher priority than the cores, because the cores are going to take a long time to grind out. Even the books are going to be easier to get than the cores. So I would suggest definitely the SSR stuff first, the gacha tickets, the jewels, and then the books. Then go for the cores to finish everything off, because you probably won't need anything else. So that's something to know. Of course, they still have the usual stuff like the you don't ever need to get the enhancement orbs, because you can easily grind them out somewhere else. You also want to avoid getting the half elixirs, because gem gacha feeds a lot of those. Only if you're truly running out, maybe get that, but you can get them other places as well. So there's that. And the SR weapons, skip those unless you really need the fodder. But given that there's so many like epic quests now that give fodder SSR weapons, you probably don't need to worry about that. And they also get their own SR weapons as well. It's much easier to just deal with that instead of wasting materials on this stuff when you could use it somewhere else. Now, I'll get into what these weapons and that I don't want to do later on. But the bigger thing I have to point out, they've changed the rank requirements for getting into this stuff as well. So, standard, you can get in at any point, period. Which makes sense because I've done new accounts where I jumped into stuff and I was able to clear standard, even expert out the gate. If a good enough roll happens, ultimate out the gate as well. But you need to be rank 11 to do expert, you need to be rank 16 to do ultimate. Rank 50 to do Ragnarok. And you need to be rank 71 to do Ragnarok Plus. They also give a decent amount of rank points and all that, but they're all giving magic jewels for the first clear reward. There is no orbs for getting first clears anymore. On top of that, you need 70 AP in order to do Ragnarok Plus, and 50 AP in order to do Ragnarok. Ragnarok is grindable now. Like, there's no limit on runs as long as you have the AP. But Ragnarok Plus, you get to do twice a day. So, that's something to know. However, what makes Ragnarok Plus stand out is the fact that despite there being not too many more chests than Ragnarok, you get more materials per chest. So, it's going to add up to be more stuff, period, point blank. That's something to really keep your eyes on. Especially if you happen to get a lot of these old demon face things. I just don't like the fact that they give you EXP spears in order to put a little bit of RNG on that type of stuff. But if you luck out, you could end up with a Ragnarok Plus run that gets like upwards of 24 of the gold item. So that's something to know. But you definitely want to clear the highest one possible so you can get the most stuff. Either it will up the chest rates or it will up whatever's in the chest. So, again, Ragnarok Plus is easily preferred because of how much stuff it can drop. But Ragnarok is also where you want to grind for. So, remember that. Now, enemies, I'm not really going to go over the weaker ones too much. I originally used to go over expert enemies, but I won't from now on because there's still the higher 3. You want to be able to grind at least ultimate now. And for that, the boss has 1.6 million HP. The first action it does out the gate, which is why I'm reading it first, blinds the whole team for 4 turns. You want debuff protection. You're going to want debuff protection because it's not just that. When his health goes below half, it's going to AoE paralyze for 1 turn. And keep in mind it has 2 orbs before it's full. So that's going to be a pain. On top of that, when its HP is 20% or less, it's going to up its own combo rate and its evasion. Which means that, and if by some weird reason you still had a blind on you by then, that plus the blind is going to make you miss a crap ton. So be very wary of that. When it goes into its normal nukes, full orbs on normal mode, it's going to do a lot of damage to one person. And in raging, it's going to randomly hit 5 times. Now then, when it goes into Ragnarok, everything's the same except for these 2 changes. First off, its HP is doubled. And then second, the paralyze is now 2 turns. So probably get a free nuke. You gotta be careful on that one. It might have a free nuke. Now, this is where I'm going to go over more details with stuff because Ragnarok Plus is looking like a gauntlet. As you can see, the enemies are like 200,000 HP or something like that, and then the boss has got like 3.2 million. It's looking like everybody's just went up by like, the boss got 5 times the HP while the enemies got like 10 times or more. So anyways, here's what I gotta point out for a Ragnarok Plus fight. First enemy, 1 orb before it tries a nuke. It can put spread on itself and cannot be erased while immediately doing a normal attack. So when its HP is below half, It's going to put spread on itself. Combined with the fact that when it bursts, it does 2 normal attacks, it can be doing 2 AoE hits. And it's got 2.5 million HP. It's also got a very high probability of combo attacking, so if you're not careful, you can start taking a lot of damage with this guy. Second stage, it's going to have 2.2 million HP, 2 orbs. I don't know when it does this effect. I'm guessing half HP, because it doesn't mention when on the trigger. Just know that when it happens, Confusion and Flame Bind is going to be on everybody for 3 turns. Like, I guess it's random on which one it does, or maybe it does both. But when it bursts, it also does Confusion to everybody for 3 turns. Confusion is very dangerous because it can make you just skip a turn and hit yourself. So be very, very careful on that. Flame Bind is also pretty dangerous too because it's like Paralyze. Now, the third enemy, 3 million HP, 2 orbs. When its HP is below half, it's going to AoE hit everybody, and then it's going to give itself like, it says 5 layers of evasion rate increase, so I guess it stacks. And then when it bursts as well, it will start doing that, but with single hit. So it's going to start stacking a lot, and I mean a lot of evasion, so your normal attacks are going to start missing quite a bit if you let the fight drag out. So you definitely want to kill those normal enemies pretty quickly, if you can. Made even worse with the boss itself. Now the boss has had all of its stuff from before, only there's a little bit of reworking here. So 2 orbs, 15 million HP. Same stuff as before with its normal burst. It's like, oh, in normal mode, 1 person takes damage, raging, random 5 hits. Blind is still going to happen first turn, for 4 turns. Paralysis is going to happen at half HP, but for 1 turn. I don't know why it got downgraded from 2 to 1, but okay. Evasion is going to happen with the combo rate increase, 30% or less HP this time. And 10% or less is going to deal damage to everybody and up its own defense or attack. So be very, very careful with this fight. Ragnarok Plus is not joking around. It is about guild order level content. So that's something to know. And guild order seems to be the comparison for a lot of the recent stuff, if you ask me. But definitely be very careful in that one. Because the enemies definitely have different behavior too. Like, they've got triggers, they've been designed to be more menacing. So it may or may not feel like fighting a tower floor. So be very careful of that one. You're definitely going to want some deeper protection, like some resistance towards it, some immunity towards it, being able to remove it. That's going to be very, very helpful in this. You may or may not want damage cut too, so that's something to know. Now, reward lists. Things have changed. They didn't change how much you need for the SSR add-on. They didn't change what you need for the weapons. One weapon still needs less than the other. They didn't change the SR weapons. They didn't change the books. They didn't change the half elixirs. Gacha tickets are the same, except for you'll notice there's no raid Kamihime gacha tickets anymore. So if you're missing any previous raid Kamihime, you're just out of luck. So at this point, you need to wait until they either get an epic quest or you just missed out, period. So you may be missing some SR on your list. It depends on when you started. So I hope you got enough of those raid Kamihime tickets from before, because for those that started late, you're just going to be missing out on some of those. What is added? The SSR 1/10 special tickets, I just call them ticket fragments. Again, just call them ticket fragments. It's easier to say it that way. But the SSR fragments, these need quite a bit of grinding. If you notice that the material requirements, it is more than the weapons and Eidolon combined. And even might still be more than them if you toss on the silver books as well. You will need to grind out quite a bit of materials for this stuff. However, it's still reasonably done, because remember, Ragnarok Plus will feed you quite a bit of stuff you can clear it. So, and you can do it twice a day. The EXP spears haven't changed. The soul points haven't changed. The jewels haven't changed. Here's what's really going to take a long time for that list. Dealing with the cores. Because that's going to take quite a bit of a grind as well. Almost as much as that weapon. Almost as much as that second weapon that's more expensive. So, cores, I would put on a back burner if you need these weapons. I would say the cores are less important than these, because you can still get cores from other places, but still grind those out eventually. Especially considering that the cores are also used in order to get these Dragonic Eye Shards. However, they now have 3 Dragonic Eye Shards, and if you want all of them, you're going to end up burning all your cores for it anyway that you just got. You can get 9 cores from this event, and it takes now 9 cores in order to get the Dragonic Eye Shards. So you're going to just burn all your core supply on the shards if you want to get the shards. So the shards may or may not have some importance, especially now that we have the really powerful 50i weapons. But it's up to you on getting the Dragonic Eye Shards. The fact that they cost cores has always been a trollish move, and now you're going to literally just break even. So that's something to know. Now, going over the weapons, they don't have a marker for this fan, but my guess is either a glaive or an arcane. But that's if you happen to need it. It's Defender. The SR Assault is a staff. Again, pretty skippable. Here's where things get interesting. The more expensive weapon, which is an SSR gun. We have guns in the game that you can get from the full raid. If you cannot farm those for some reason, this is your next best thing because it gives vigor. Large amount of vigor with HP. The full gun will give vigor and assault. So that's something to know. It also gives something else too. I think it was either Ascension or Defender. I forgot which one. But the full gun is definitely better than this. But this is probably the next best thing, because vigor isn't too frequently found. It's becoming more common, but it's not frequently found, at least in free stuff. So that combined with this spear, which is medium assault and then triple attack. Triple attack's whatever, but I guess it helps. We've got the weapon skill changes where it's a larger amount of triple attack. Those two combined will quite significantly spike your output for newer players. You'll get better stuff later on, trust me on that one. But for newer players, this isn't a bad start to try and get both of these. So that's something to know. Whenever you're able to grind the full Guardian raid, that's when you just drop the rest of the stuff and just go gun grid for full guns, because that is just that powerful. They also have decent base stats too for event weapons, so that's something to know. Nue, on the other hand, very high priority. Summoning her increases everybody's evasion rate, but the big thing about her, if you missed out on event Och because her event just ended, this is the next best thing. The 50% Idolin for Thunder, because you'll want to put full Thunder subs and then you put her as a main, and it will give you the 50%. Och works the same way, only it goes up to 55%. So that's the next best thing right here. And then her summon effect isn't too bad. It depends on how much evasion rate it gives everybody, but evasion is evasion, because it stacks with blind if you can land that. Because both will increase the chances of normal hits just not smacking you, and the less damage you take, the better, especially in some of the harder content. Trust me on that one. But the harder content tends to have resistances or even outright immunity towards some or even most debuffs, so evasion is the next best thing, compared to blind, because evasion's a buff. So there's different ways you can use this type of stuff, and quite frankly, I welcome any sort of buff type things, because the one thing, unless there's a trigger against it, but the one thing that you can usually use almost all the time is buffs. So keep that in mind. Now, the mission list has also changed. Every day, half elixirs, just do the event 5 times. This is also all the more reason why you don't need to trade for more. But now, every difficulty except for standard wants you to clear without using an elixir, and you get bonus items. Expert and Ultimate still wants the usual stuff from before, clear with certain elements or certain rarities. It's Fire Kamihime for Ultimate clear this time around. Just do Fire or Kamihime Ultimate and you can get all that out the way. Whenever you clear Expert, just make sure your Kamihime or SR or R rarity, and you'll be able to do that. That does still include sub-slots. I have to remind people of that one, because whenever they want these mission requirements, they want main and sub slots to meet the requirements. They've done that on Tower, they've done it on this, they've done that on Guild Order, and now they're doing it on Battlefield of Weapons with the weapon break. So, again, make sure your sub slots and your main line meet the requirements. But basically, that's it for this. I also think there's going to be another really powerful Kamihime on the gacha pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Me personally, I've already dumped all my free supplies on the Light Poseidon one, and I haven't pulled her, so I'm just out of luck, period, point blank. Maybe I'll get her later. If not, by the time the next miracle ticket rolls around, I'll just get her off of that one. But anyways, that's all for this. Again, Ragnarok Plus is going to be a little bit tricky unless you're like really strong. So that said, just be very careful of that and absolutely grind out those SSR ticket fragments, because you definitely want those. When you start racking those up, that is free SSR pools. Literally free. You get like 2 per raid or Advent event now, so grind these events for those. Advent's a little bit more lenient because you don't have to like go through a long gauntlet at least. So that's something to know. And also, you may still luck out and get platinum chests, period, point blank. As far as I can tell, platinums are able to drop on anything above standard, but your rates are better for the higher difficulties. If platinum, well, they're also called rainbow, but if they drop, it still can give you an SR weapon, but you want one of the SSR items to come out just to make it a little bit easier to get that stuff. Or if you're really that persistent, you can overfarm. But personally, I wouldn't really overfarm. There's like, the weapons are decent, but they don't final break. And then the Adon, while she is good, she's more main slot than sub slot. So you can just get other Adons for sub slots. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon, and I'm going to have to definitely do some more event videos for that one. Speaking of videos, last thing I need to mention, there should be 2 more videos coming up along with this. This is just the event video for this. I still need to upload the video from the previous event, and also something explaining weapon break, how to do that basically. So expect 2 more videos to pop up as well pretty soon, along with an AU Senki video. I've started playing that. It's in like, I guess in some sort of early access thing or whatever, but really I'd just say the game launched. So I'm going to be having a video of that pretty soon as well once I record it. So there's going to be quite a few videos on the horizon, guys. Like, I haven't uploaded for almost a week, but there's going to be some stuff to make up for it. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon, and take care.